Alright, so we are recording. Got this UMX Habu S. I guess the S stands for safe. DF 180. Going to do the maiden flight. It's a nice, beautiful day. Probably about 2 to 3 mile-an-hour winds. Out here with Jim. Alright. Out here in my club's field in Petaluma, California. Alright, so here it is. I got my extra battery here. This only comes with one battery. I got an extra battery. They're all fully charged, ready to go. Got the charger out here. This. Alright. Got my trusty DX6, all programmed, ready to go. Right, and I will throw out there that this is my first EDF, so the likelihood of crashing is very high, which is why I am recording, so that we can all laugh later. Okay, so this is a pretty nice looking plane though. It looks very fragile though. You got to be careful.
There's a guy out at the school, the middle school, flies one of these.
Oh, nice.
And he's broken the nose off of it several times. Well, a better runway though. It's on a gravel runway. It's very hard to keep it straight, and it's got to make a long run to get the speed up before you can take off.
Yeah. Well, luckily we have this long runway here.
Keep it on the runway.
This has 3 flight modes. You got the beginner, intermediate, and experienced. I will be doing beginner mode with low rates, of course, which I have all programmed in my radio. And here are the switches for it. You got beginner, intermediate, and experienced. And I got my throttle cut here and my high and low rates here.
Landing mode, low rates.
So we're ready to go. Alright. This does have safe. It has a gyro built into it, which is really nice. It's got 3 different flight modes. Wait for it to initialize, which it did. We're good to go. Yes, the up elevator is supposed to be like that for beginner mode. That helps you keep the nose in the air. And, alright. There we go. So 3 minutes on the timer. I gotta change that real quick. 3 minutes. Alright. Here we go. I think that'll be enough runway, huh? All right. Wish me luck. Low rates. All right. Nice. Wow. This self-leveling really does self-level itself. The flight envelope is really low. Got to use some rudder to make these turns. I might just flip it into intermediate here. Alright. There we go. So I need a little bit of up elevator trim. There we go. Couple clicks on the ailerons. No, you're good. A little more click on the ailerons. Nice.
I can't keep up with this guy.
Full throttle. Well, I tried to do a loop there and that wasn't working. Let's try a roll. Nope, no roll.
That's the stabilizer.
Yeah. So it won't let you do loops or rolls in intermediate mode. It just automatically wants to level out. So this is about half throttle. So let me go to experience mode. Alright. So now I should be able to do loops and rolls. Oh, there we go. There's a roll.
Is that a full rate roll or just a...
That was low rates. I forgot that I have rates on this thing. Alright, so let's go to high rate. There we go. Nice. Well, I guess I gotta land. Alright, so let's go ahead and land. I'll flip it to beginner mode for landing. Now let's do intermediate mode. I don't like beginner mode. Alright. Whoa!
Very nice.
Nice. Alright. Wasn't the most pretty landing, but
Until you see this guy Michael Troy go out and pick up pieces, so.
you can hear the gyro working here. Alright, well that's it guys. That was the maiden flight. Just right off the bat, I think it probably would be a good beginner EDF choice for people looking to get into EDFs. The beginner mode, you really don't have much maneuverability in beginner mode, but that might be good for somebody who's just starting out, you know. Also, intermediate mode, you got a little bit more maneuverability, but then again, I forgot that I had low rates on, so maybe I'll try that again on the second flight on high rates. But, yep, that's it. Thanks. Hey YouTube, how's it going? Banshee Rider here. I decided to do a post-flight review on this EDF UMX Habu S DF180. I'm assuming the S means safe. And I'll also go over some of how I have my DX6 program, so you can see some of the flight controls on the transmitter. So, you know, I was to be honest, I was a little nervous to fly this jet. This is my first EDF, and I've been flying just regular prop planes for a couple years now. And I do recommend that you have some experience flying planes before you get into EDFs. However, with this plane, with this EDF, I think in beginner mode, anybody can fly it. You don't have to have any experience flying planes to get into EDS. It's not super fast. It's not hard to maneuver. Actually, in beginner mode, it is hard to maneuver. It has a real small flight envelope, and you can't even do rolls. You can't do loops or anything. You can just fly straight and make turns, figure eights, and that's about it. So, just real quick, I'll just go over with the plane, which I should have done before the maiden flight, but I was so excited I just wanted to get out there and fly it. So, I'll do the review right now. Alright, so I guess I'll just do a little unboxing here. This is how it comes right here. Open up the box, take out the phone, and here's the jet. You saw a little bit of this in my video on the maiden flight. This jet is actually really nice. You know, it's got a steerable nose gear. And despite the hard landings that I did today, this remained intact. It didn't break. It's very fragile, which I think I mentioned in the other video. So you got to be careful when you're handling this thing. I feel like it's gonna break in my hands. But despite the hard landings that I had, it remained intact, the whole plane. So it's good. And this landing gear is removable. So if you want to hand launch it and belly land it, you could do that. I think I'm going to try that next once I find a place that has grass. But if you are going to use the wheels, I recommend using a nice flat surface. Like you saw in my video, we have a nice runway from my club's field, and it worked out good. So yeah, this plane is really fun. It's not terribly fast. In beginner's mode, you'll see that the elevator is up. So what that does is it makes sure that you keep your nose up when you take off. It's easier to take off, and it keeps the nose up when you're not at full throttle and everything. So that's really good. But in beginner mode, you can't really maneuver. You got a real small flight envelope. You make your banking turns, and you can't really make the sharp turns that you want to make. So you got to apply a little bit of rudder. So I pretty much flew in beginner mode for about 30 seconds, and then I switched it into intermediate. Beginner mode has that self-riding, self-leveling, which I'm a little bit familiar with my quads and everything, but I never really experienced that in a plane. But it really does help a lot for somebody who's getting into EDFs and that has no prior plane experience. So that's good. So intermediate mode gives you a much larger flight envelope, a lot more maneuverability, and you still have the benefit of AS3X stabilization. I didn't really see any of the self-riding, but it was a little bit more fun because I had more control of the plane. And that's what I really needed, was more control. Even with, I only had 10% expo. Actually, I was on low rates, and I only had 0% expo on my low rates, and I have 10% on my high rates. And even on 100% in beginner mode, on 100% high rates with 10% expo, I felt like I had no control. So the intermediate kind of helped a little bit. Gave me a little bit more control. Now, the third mode is expert, and you do not have the stabilization, and you do not have safe. So what safe is it's the self-riding. You do also have the panic recovery mode where you push the bind button on your transmitter and it'll level out. You do have that feature in all flight modes. So expert mode was fun. I was able to do loops and rolls. It's unlimited flight envelope. And that's pretty much it. You still have the stabilization. It was blowing probably about 3 or 4 miles an hour, and this thing was flying like it was on rails. It just didn't really do any, the wind wasn't affecting it, and that's pretty good. So that's that. One thing that I need to work on with these jets are the landings. As with my other planes, when I get pretty close low to the ground, depending on what the wind is doing, if there's no wind, then I'll come down on the throttle all the way and just kind of glide it right in. But with a jet, I think you have to keep the power on to come in for a nice landing, because I was killing all power and gliding in, but when I got close to the runway, it would just drop and it would bounce like this all over the place and then stop, which, and the landing gear surprisingly held up pretty well. So next time when I fly this, I'm going to try and come in with a little bit of power and just kind of ease it and grease it in there. So the transmitter I'm using with this, I guess this is a bind and flight package, so it doesn't come with a transmitter. Let me put this back in the box here. Oh, and also this comes with one of the E-Flight 200 mAh 2-cell battery, 30C, that has the UMX connector on the end, just one battery it comes with. So I went and purchased another one, and I have 2 more batteries from RC Babel Bats on RC Groups. I ordered a couple batteries and a parallel harness because, excuse me, I ordered a parallel harness because this charger right here is crap. I was about an hour into the charging of a completely dead battery, and it was still charging. It was trying to balance it or something. So this charger is complete crap. It comes, it has 2 small alligator clips, so I can't even use this at the house. I had to figure something out to use on my inverter that plugs into my wall outlet. I had to figure something out to use just to charge at my house. So yeah, these are pretty much useless. So I ordered a parallel harness with UMX adapter that has banana plugs, and that'll plug right into my iCharger, and I'll be able to charge these batteries in under 30 minutes, no matter how many batteries, up to 6 batteries or something. So in under 30 minutes, so that'll be good. Can't wait for that to come in. So yeah, this charger comes with it. The battery comes with it. And that's it in the box. So the transmitter that I'm using is the Spectrum DX6. If you don't have one of these, I highly recommend them. It is a beautiful transmitter. I love it. So the instructions, the manual is also in the box, and it tells you how to program your transmitter for safe. You have to reverse the auxiliary channel, and you have to do something with the gear channel, and it took me about a minute, and then I was done. So it's very simple. Also, you got to go in there and set your low and high rates. So on everything, it's 100. On high rates, it's 100% with 10% expo. For low rates, it's 70% with 0 expo. So that was pretty easy to set up. I got the timer set for 3 minutes. Unfortunately, I got exactly 3 minutes on this jet. As soon as I hit 3 minutes, it started pulsing, and I had to land. So hopefully with the RC Babel Bats, they're 330 mAh batteries. Hopefully I'll get an extra minute or so. So the way I have this set up is, as soon as I come up on the throttle, the timer starts counting down, okay? And then right here I have my switch for the beginner, intermediate, and expert mode. So right here,
Beginner mode.
you hear it said beginner mode,
Intermediate mode.
intermediate,
Experienced mode.
and experience mode. So I got that on here. You could put all these on different switches if you want. I just left it the way it was. Right here, on this switch here, switch C, I have my throttle cut.
Throttle cut on. Throttle cut off.
Right there, which I have for all my planes. And then right here is my high rates,
Low rates.
low rates,
Landing mode.
and landing mode. So landing mode, I have that set up for all my planes. Basically, all I do is set up a mix of aileron and rudder, about 30% evenly. So every time I use the aileron, it also applies rudder, and I use that for landings. Yeah, so that's pretty much it for this review. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and post your comments in the box. And you might ask if I recommend this plane, and like I said, I do. I recommend it for beginners, even beginner RC pilots, but they should only use this in beginner mode. And if you're an experienced RC pilot, then you will still have fun with this jet, and you'll probably want to use it all the time in experience mode and sometimes maybe intermediate mode for landings and stuff. So that's my review on this plane. Peace.